What's going on, listeners? It's Thursday in South Carolina. Welcome to the Touchdowns Podcast. We are joined today by Trevor Hewett, Alabama alum and formerly of BamaOnline.com. We're going to be talking about the upcoming matchup as the Gamecocks play Bama on Saturday at Williams-Brice. Welcome to the show, Trevor.
Oh, thanks so much, guys. It's great to be here. I appreciate you having me.
If you don't mind just starting off, if you just want to give a little background about, going to Alabama and your time at Bama Online and working in Tuscaloosa, just for the listeners to get to know you a little bit, then we'll get into the questions.
Yeah. So I was in Tuscaloosa, went to the University of Alabama. While I was there from just before the start of the 2008 season to the start of the 2012 season, I was an undergraduate recruiting assistant for Alabama football. And then after that, transitioned to covering Alabama football and basketball and recruiting for 247 Sports, BamaOnline.com. Did that for 4 years, and then got out of the got out of the journalism business. But obviously, stay very close to the program. Still got a lot of people that I know over there, and a lot of great connections. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say, looking at Alabama from last year, Kalen DeBoer's first year, to this year, what would you say is the biggest change in this team, or things you've seen in DeBoer's second season in charge?
Well, I think that that the first year, obviously transition year, you're coming from Nick Saban, who's obviously he's Nick Saban. So anybody following that job, there's going to be a transitionary period. I felt like last year DeBoer was a little more hands off culturally with the team. He kind of let Milroe and those other guys. He trusted them with kind of running the locker room. I don't want to say kid gloves, but definitely seemed a little bit more reserved in the way that he was running the team. And then obviously transition into this year too, and start off the season with Florida State. Obviously, a very bad day for Alabama, very bad look. And it seems like after that game, he figured out like, hey, we're not gentle parenting anymore. We're getting intense. This is what these guys run on, and holding these guys accountable to the standard, because that's kind of the way it's always been at Bama. Is like, hey, the standard's the standard, and if you're not meeting the standard, we're going to find somebody who will. And so it's been really good to see the intensity ratched up. And this year, he seems to have really found uh, where he needs to be in terms of how he needs to handle this program and these players. And, we're starting to see the results on the field.
So your answer there kind of touches on a question that I had for you. You are old enough to remember pre-Saban. Saban was there so long that a lot of Alabama fans were born into this dynasty and have only really known what the program is like under Nick Saban. As someone who can remember, I mean, y'all were always a storied program because y'all had the Bear Bryant dynasty uh, before, but in the 90s and early 2000s, y'all had some down years. What do you feel your perspective is on what the standard for Alabama football is? Do you feel like it gives you a more realistic expectation? Are you going to give DeBoer more leash, or does he need to come as close to Saban as possible? And if he can't do it, y'all are going to run him out of town.
To be honest with you, realistic expectations aren't really a thing that exist in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's just reality. I grew up an Alabama fan. A lot of my family's from Alabama, and growing up here in Middle Tennessee in the '90s and the early 2000s, it was not a fun time. But
Right.
the expectations for Alabama to be a contender, they never wavered. That was always the expectation, and I think it always will be the expectation. So I think that DeBoer, with what he's shown over the last month, has given Alabama fans a lot more, I would say, trust in what he's going to do going forward. But in the end of the day, we're in a results-oriented business, And if Alabama's not contending for titles, then it'll get loud quick. I mean, fortunately, with the playoffs being 12 teams now, that's kind of your benchmark. Are we a playoff team? But in the end of the day, the expectation is to contend for and win national championships. I think that will always be the standard at Bama. And it doesn't matter who the head coach is. They're going to be met with those sort of expectations at the front door.
Yeah, expectations and getting loud quick. It did get loud quick after Florida State dismantled Bama week 1. Their season has gone awry, losing all their conference games, while Bama's season has gone the complete opposite. 4 straight wins in SEC play against ranked teams. What the hell happened against FSU? And then what changed for this team to kind of rebound and go on this little run that has them right back, as many are considering them the best team in the nation, especially with 1 loss. I think, they're even ranked above some of the undefeated teams there in the top 10, this most recent poll.
Week 1, I think a bit of a perfect storm. You're coming in with a brand new starting quarterback in Ty Simpson, very limited action leading up to that point. You've got a new offensive coordinator at Florida State and Gus Malzahn, who has made a lot of money off of beating Alabama, let's be totally honest, and has an incredibly difficult offense to defend if you're not disciplined and you're not fitting your run gaps, if you're not setting the edge. If he's got a mobile quarterback, it's nightmare fuel. I mean, that's just what he can do to you. I think that Alabama, that team going into that game, had a bit of, hey, we're Alabama, and we're going to roll that crimson helmet out on the field, and we're going to win because we're Alabama. And they found out real quick that Florida State didn't care who was on the other side. They were more physical, and to be quite honest about it, they just wanted it more than Bama on that day. Obviously, weather played a little bit of a factor. Ty Simpson, his clock was just a little slow. He didn't play awful, but he was just a little late on a couple of those balls. And so those plays that could have been and have been explosive over the last 4 weeks against Florida State, it just wasn't there. I think that the other biggest factor was, Caden Proctor just got dominated in that game. There's just no way around it. He struggled. The inside move really got him in that game. And since then, we've seen him really step up at left tackle and obviously at running back and at wide receiver, and wherever else you need Crispy. But I think that the biggest factor coming from that game is that this team became accountable to itself. Guys like Bray Hubbard, who really had just some horrible effort during that game, and they got called out publicly, and I'm sure they got called out privately. Since that game, it's kind of like, hey, we're standing 10 toes down. And this is what we're going to do. We're hair on fire, and they've answered the call in the biggest of moments. And so I think it was just more of this team deciding like, hey, we're not going to be the ones that end this. We're going to be the ones that kept it going.
Speaking of seasons that have gone awry, things have not gone the way that Beck and I expected our season to go, or any Carolina fan wanted for this season. Coming into this year, I think that a lot of us had this matchup circled on the calendar as kind of like a major inflection point. Obviously, we expected to come into this game with a much better record, but we kind of thought that the result of this game would kind of decide the trajectory for our playoff push. We've obviously kind of already eliminated ourselves from that conversation. Is there anything about our team that has Bama fans worried this week, or are y'all pretty confident that y'all are going to come in here and steamroll?
I think that, obviously you got Lenore Sellers, and mobile quarterbacks are just an X factor that are almost impossible to really game plan for. You've got an incredibly athletic wide receiver that can take the top off of the defense. Those are the biggest factors. Obviously, Alabama struggled a little bit against the run. That's something that they've shored up in the past few weeks. They're going to give up a couple of explosives. There's no way around that. But I think that what Bama has turned into is like, hey, we're gonna give you a couple of 15, 20 yards runs, but once we get into the red zone, we're shrinking the defense, and we're going to make you earn every single yard. And, the red zone turnovers have just been absolutely massive over the course of the last month. And I think that that's been the real difference there. But obviously, going against a guy like Lenore Sellers, even if you pressure him, his ability to create is almost more dangerous than what he can do on schedule. And so I think that that's, the biggest factor going in is we've got to keep Lenore Sellers in the pocket. And hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us over the top with your arm. You're going to have to go deep on us and stretch the field and get vertical. And that's just the way that Alabama has to play it against a player like him.
Yeah, the explosives have been few and far between for this offense. So I think that also plays in Bama's favor. And you talk about the red zone defense for Bama. We've been awful, even extending out to once we get inside the opponent's 40, and our ability to get points has been very low percentage. And so that's going to be a huge matchup. I think we are going to have to hit some big plays just because Bama's been playing this bend, don't break style, and we can't seem to score when we get in scoring position, whether that be missed field goals, Lenore's taking sacks because the O-line can't block, and he's trying to make a play, and it's a 20-yard loss instead of a 5-yard loss. But I want to talk about this offense, and Ty Simpson is rising the ranks in the Heisman, in the Heisman watch. He obviously didn't play well against FSU, but then has been pretty flawless since that game. What is the contrast, and it goes back to DeBoer a little bit too, the contrast with Jalen Milroe, who was an athletic freak and could make plays with his legs, wasn't the purest thrower, to going to Ty Simpson, who is a stand-in-the-pocket guy. And is that more fit for DeBoer? Because he's got guys like Michael Penix that he coached who could just stand in the pocket and throw the pill, and he had a lot of success. So last year's team, was there a emphasis to obviously go to Jalen Milroe's strengths, but now with Ryan Grubb, Ty Simpson, and DeBoer with this year's offense, it's more fitting to what DeBoer wants to do philosophically?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that there's no doubt. Jalen Milroe, one of the most electrifying playmakers you're ever going to see. When he's on, when he was on, it's just fun to watch. The problem with Jalen is that you never knew if he was going to be on or off. He was either going to be first half of Georgia, where he looks like a number 1 overall pick, or he was going to look like the Oklahoma game last year, where it's like, hey, have you played quarterback before? I mean, it just was, you were on the roller coaster with Jalen. I think the biggest difference is obviously Ty's sense of timing. Get the ball out. He is in total control of that offense from pre-snap to post-snap. And also, the biggest factor, I think, is the ability to win between the hashes in the passing game. I think that is something, Milroe, great deep ball. He can play the sidelines great. But in the end of the day, going against these cover 2 shell defenses, you got to be able to layer the ball over the middle and win in between the hashes. And I think that that's just the biggest differentiating factor. Ty, his timing up to this point has been pretty remarkable, where he's getting rid of the ball on time. And with the talent that Alabama has on the outside, they're going to be open. You got to know where to go and put the ball there when it's supposed to be there. And if you do those things, you're going to make plays. And so I think that the biggest differentiating factor is it's really just processing. Ty is just an incredible processor, which is remarkable considering we're talking 7 starts. I mean, what he's doing is something that guys just don't do, especially considering the competition the last 4 weeks. And it's been an incredible thing to watch. That's for sure.
Quick follow-up to that. Who's the best receiver in Alabama's receiver room? Because I know everyone gives Ryan Williams the hype, the play at Georgia. Thomas thinks Bernard is the best. Horton and Brooks have been productive. Who's the best receiver in that room, in your opinion?
Oh, I think it's 5. I think it's Jeremy Bernard. Obviously, Ryan Williams' upside is undeniable. He's battled a couple of injuries, battled a couple of drops, but he's a guy that when you're game planning, you got to circle him. But Bernard is just one of those guys. Hey, it's third down, and I need to move the sticks. I'm finding 5. Like I'm dialing it up for 5. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm getting the ball in his hands because I trust that A, he's going to catch it, B, he's going to be open, and C, he's going to make the play. Bernard is a guy that, obviously just an incredible all-around football player, team leader, everything you want. But right now, for me, it's got to be Bernard. Ryan Williams and Brooks are both definitely up there, and Horton has made very timely plays. Consistency may not be as big, but if you give him single coverage, down the rail, he's going to hurt you. He's going to catch it, and especially in the red zone with his size and ability, he's a guy that's going to be a target and make plays.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing going into this game is Gamecock fans have lost a lot of hope. One of the things that we were looking at as we were preparing for this show was Alabama's O-line has been shuffling throughout the year. Dylan Stewart got hurt against Oklahoma, which was a killer, but sounds like he's going to be healthy. Is that a potential matchup where the Gamecocks could maybe get some wins? And I think the only way we keep this game close is forcing some turnovers. And is that a potential matchup that we could see the Gamecocks get some wins on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, with a guy like Stewart, it doesn't matter who you have at tackle. He's good enough to beat anybody in the country. At his best, he's just a guy that you have to focus on stopping. He is pretty remarkable. The Alabama offensive line, obviously, we've been playing musical chairs on the O-line all year long. That has been, as an offensive line guy, that has been, something that's been a point of frustration. I think that they've started to dial it in. Michael Carroll stepping up as a true freshman at right tackle and has looked very, very promising. Has been great to see. Obviously, Proctor these last 4 weeks, especially in the Tennessee game, it looks like he's had his light bulb moment where it's like, hey, I'm 6'7" and I'm 360 pounds, and I'm a better athlete than pretty much everybody on this field. And he's finally playing up to that. Now, that being said, going against a guy like Stewart, if you lean the wrong way one time, he's going to change the game, So if he's a guy that's fully healthy, obviously he can create some real problems for you. And the turnovers that Alabama has had has been Ty Simpson holding onto the ball for a little bit too long, and then the pass rush getting to him, and then him fumbling the football. I mean, that's the one knock that you have is if he doesn't get rid of the ball on time, great things typically aren't going to happen. And so if South Carolina can cover on the back end long enough to let that pass rush get home, then y'all can definitely create some issues for the Alabama offense.
Must be nice to have a freshman offensive guard step up and look promising. I mean, God damn! Yeah. Our offensive line can't seem to figure it out. The whole time under Beamer, it seems like that's been the one position group that's plagued us, and I don't know what the fix is other than I guess getting some bodies in there that can do it. But it's been frustrating to say the least.
Yeah, in the end of the day, offensive line is probably the one position where you're not really going to fix it in the portal. You can get bodies, but the guys who are players, they're not going in the portal because they are being taken care of accordingly to where they're not making those moves. So offensive line is really a sign and develop position. And it's just difficult to find those guys. You can find big bodies, but big bodies that can hold up against SEC pass rushers, that's a whole nother ballgame. There's a lot of those guys just don't exist. And so it's a remarkable conundrum when, hey, we can't get these guys out of high school and going and getting them in the portal. There's no guarantee that, because any offensive lineman that's in the portal for the most part is a guy that's in the portal for a reason. They let him go. So that I think that's the that's where philosophically, teams have got to focus on certain positions you can get in the portal. Hey, wide receiver, running back, a lot of skill positions, you can get in the portal and do some things. But if you're trying to build up front through the portal in the SEC, I wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, that's been a backbreaker for us.
Well,
we went down to
one of the biggest
I mean,
frustrations is we thought we had a guy, 5-star Josiah Thompson. He's from South Carolina. He's in your backyard. You have to fight off everybody for him, and you get him to come here. And he looks promising as a true freshman, and he's going through a major sophomore slump. So you hope that the shakeup with O-line coach Sean Elliott can get more out of him, and then moving forward, I don't know what Beamer's plans are with the offensive staff, whether Sean Elliott is going to be the O-line coach long term, or we bring somebody in next season. I know that South Carolina fans want to see a different offensive coordinator, but yeah, it's just incredibly frustrating to sign a guy that everybody wanted and kind of feel like you're addressing that need on paper and then still just not be good.
Yeah, development is it's just tough to project with these guys. There's a lot of guys that you think are going to be major contributors, and then shoot, even in my time at Alabama, you sign a guy like Chance Warmack, he's a 3-star. Georgia and Georgia Tech don't even offer him, and he's in their backyard. And then you develop into really one of the best interior offensive linemen from a college football perspective that we've ever seen. And then you sign some 5-stars that just mentally, they just don't ever make the transition. In high school, they were bigger and they were stronger and they were able to dominate as a result of that. But, in a place like the SEC, hey, welcome to the party, bud. Everybody's a freak.
Yeah.
And so once you start swimming in the deep water with the other sharks, how are you going to respond? And a lot of these guys, they're just not cut out for it. And it's not a talent issue. It's a mental issue largely. So yeah, it's always disappointing to see these guys not develop the way that you think they should. But it is more art than science in some ways.
Yeah, it's definitely the toughest evaluation, I think. I don't know, Ross and Thomas worked in the recruiting office. It sounds like you did some undergraduate stuff in the Alabama program, and a lot of times it's just, hey, go get that guy and offer him a scholarship because he's 315 pounds, and we'll teach him how to block. But a lot of times, like you said, they're bigger and stronger than everyone in high school, so they don't develop that kind of dog mentality. And then they start getting whooped in college, and their confidence just falls off the cliff, and they ultimately can't become the player that maybe you thought they were coming out of high school. And how some of these, I think, we watch recruiting rankings, and we've been doing that our whole lives, following, recruiting in the off season like crazy people. And, but you see the stars next to the guy's name and you're like, this guy's got to produce. And a lot of times they don't pan out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I also think that it's also a victim of the spread offense era. I think that we're still kind of recovering from that. So many of these teams, the ball's out in 3 seconds. You've never, you come out of high school and you've barely had to hold a block for any amount of time. With spread, RPO, and things like that, it band-aids offensive linemen where you can still be successful without being incredibly dominant up front. And then you get to college, and once again, in this league, you got to have it. You got to be physical up front, and you got to be able to handle, when the waves are crashing down on you. And these guys they come to college and they've never had the opportunity to have to really battle. And so I think that from a development standpoint, the high school systems, while they're successful in high school and these coaches are winning a lot of games, from a development standpoint on the offensive line, these guys are never in a 3-point stance. They're on islands, but they're on islands for 2.5 seconds. And so it's just a remarkably difficult transition against the athletes that they are playing against.
That's a good point.
I got a few more questions. Do you have any questions, Thomas? I got a few more.
Let's keep rolling. Yeah. If I can build off of stuff you say.
Yeah, all right, just an easy one, softball. What's your thoughts on Mike Shula? He coached
Oh
at
man.
Alabama for 3 years. He's now obviously our offensive coordinator in hot water. What are your thoughts in general on Mike Shula?
Mike's always. I have a lot of respect for Mike in the fact that he held the rope for Alabama in a very, very difficult time. He took over a job where probation, Franchione leaves, the Mike Price situation happens, and and he took over a program that was just in really the bottom of where Alabama's ever been historically, and held the rope. And when it was time to move on, we moved on. The thing with Shula from an offensive play calling standpoint, because you look at his resume, obviously did incredible things with Cam Newton in Carolina, but has Shula ever really been a guy that's been known to be innovative? Has he ever, is he a guy that my thing with Shula was always he's never going to be a guy that, hey, I can take yours and beat mine and take mine and beat yours. Um, he's always been a little bit more on the vanilla side in terms of play calling. Doesn't want to make big mistakes, control the ball, sustain the game. Um, but in terms of explosiveness, it's just not there. You see a guy like Harbor on the outside, and it's just like, I promise you, Lane Kiffin's going to be getting that guy the ball. He's going to figure out how to get that guy the ball in space and make plays. How do you take advantage of the personnel that you do have? And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened. Now, once again, offensive line is a major factor in there. But you, at a certain point, you've got to be able to figure out ways to make plays with what you've got. And unfortunately, it's just not happening right now. Which with a guy as talented as Sellers, that's got to be incredibly frustrating to see from the South Carolina side of things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just our life though. It's just life. I mean, shit. I mean, yeah, talk like we grew up South Carolina fans. You mentioned you grew up an Alabama fan. You touched on it, and I was doing some research because I thought you were at Bama earlier than you were. But like, all right, Gene Stallings gets the national championship. He has his run in the 90s. Y'all hire Mike Bowes, who was another Bear Bryant guy. He does really well, but he puts y'all on probation. Franchione comes in. He has a 10-2 season. Y'all win the SEC West, but you can't go to the SEC championship because of the probation. And then he's like, "All right, screw it. I'm going to take the Texas A&M job." And then Mike Price gets hired. He's at a strip joint before he even coaches a game. He gets canned, and that's when y'all brought in Shula. So, like, growing up an Alabama fan, what was that like? Because you were a child in '92 when y'all won the national championship, and then the struggles. But then you get to school, and y'all have Saban, and you obviously go on that historic run. Talk about just being an Alabama fan, growing up and all through your life.
Oh man, it was the formative years were definitely tough. 8 years old until probably really when I got out of high school, it was not a fun time, especially being in Middle Tennessee. That was when Tennessee was really playing their best football in the modern era.
Right.
And it was incredibly frustrating. Bama always had guys. I think that Bama was in a very similar place in the '90s to where South Carolina is, where it's like, hey, we're always going to have 3 or 4 guys who are legitimate NFL football players that are playmakers, but just lacking the ability to build a roster around those guys that you can really compete at an elite level. So yeah, it was tough, man. Going through all those transitions, just never really being on solid footing. It was frustrating, man. As someone who is also a Titans fan, uh, you just go through those times where it's just like, man, why are we invested in this? Why do I do this? Why do I care? And so yeah, man, it was tough. It was a tough time growing up. Bama also, much like the South Carolina program, hey, there's going to be 2 or 3 games a year where we're going to play with our hair on fire and we're going to beat some teams that we're not supposed to. So you better be ready when you come to South Carolina, you come to Tuscaloosa, because yeah, the record might not say it, but I promise you, if you fuck around, you're going to find out. And so in many ways, that part is very similar in terms of where Alabama was and where South Carolina is now. Where the consistency, you're just looking for the consistency, and it's just not there.
Yeah, I think that's what we thought we were hopefully getting with Beamer, and then now it's another down year, and that's been heartbreaking for some, but not surprising to us lifelong Gamecock fans. As soon as we have a glimpse of like, all right, we're preseason number 11, like we got the Heisman favorite potentially as our quarterback, like defensively, we have Dylan Stewart, who's an all-American player that at edge rusher that makes a difference every game, and we've come out and gone flat on choking games away and penalties, and it's been rough, but it's the life of a Gamecock. So I'm sure one day we just need to find our Saban. I don't know where he is, but
we're just one coach away.
I mean, it's easy to say, obviously joking, it's in the funny aspect of it, but it's also like, it is what it is. Saban, I remember when they signed Saban and people were like, oh my God, $32 million contract. Like, how could you ever pay a coach that much? And man, he was worth 10 times that. The right guy, it's incredible the difference it makes. Obviously, I mean, that's nothing, really astounding there to say, but it's finding that guy, and there's no way to know when you found him. You go with the best coach that you have available and that you think can lead the program, and you hope that you get those results. But it's just, there's so many variable factors that play into it. And I think that Beamer I think he loves South Carolina. I think that culturally, I can see it. But the results have got to be there at some point, consistently, and obviously it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually, now that we have effectively been eliminated, I am rooting for Indiana to win the national championship, just so I can really see in my lifetime that it's possible. There hasn't been a new national champion since Florida won it in '96. So for the past 30 years, all of the national champions have come from programs that had previously won. So that just goes to show how incredibly difficult it is to break through as a program that has not already won a national championship. So if Indiana were to do it, it would at least prove that in theory it's possible, if you find the right guy, that you can turn it around that quick. And that'll just give me a little bit more to just it'll carry me through a few more years of being a Carolina fan for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly impressive. I'm not the biggest Signetti fan, but you got to give a lot of respect to what he's done at Indiana so far. In the end of the day, when you get down to the national championship level, it's not about the X's and the O's. It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. I mean, it's just, it is what it is. It's an arms race. It's about playmakers. And that's where I want to see, this Indiana team, very good defense, obviously very good quarterback, great offense. What happens when you really start playing some teams that are very plus talent against you? Obviously, the Oregon game, it showed a ton that they're here. But doing that in a playoff structure, 3 weeks in a row, we'll see. It's a tough gauntlet to run once you get up. Once the field is narrowed, man, it's you're playing against heavyweights every week, and so it's going to be very interesting to see how this Indiana run goes down the stretch.
Yeah, outside of Alabama, who would you pick national championship at this point in the season? Who do you think will win it all?
I think you got to start with Ohio State. They're looking like those mid 2000s Alabama teams where it's like, hey, on defense, we're just going to suffocate you. There's nowhere for you to go. And we're just going to slowly over the course of the game, just take your will to play away from you. And then on offense, obviously, there's playmakers everywhere. San, who could have been in Tuscaloosa, got a cup of coffee before Saban retired. He's running that offense. Is he doing anything incredible? No, but he's delivering the ball on time and he's not turning the ball over. And when you have the talent that he has around him, that's all you need. Be Mac Jones. Get the ball out, get to your
Right.
playmakers, and let them make plays, man. This is not rocket science. You you got Jeremiah Smith, you got Carnell Tate. You are loaded everywhere. Let those playmakers do what they do. Don't make mistakes. And obviously, when you've got a defense where it's like, hey, they've got to score 30 points to beat our offense, and there ain't no way they're scoring 30 points against our defense. That's a pretty good place to be playing from when you're Ohio State right now. So I think the conversation for me right now kind of starts and ends with Ohio State in terms of being just a surefire. Hey, these guys are probably going to be there come January.
Yeah. I would tend to agree.
I would have to agree, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hey, the Gamecocks are 2-0 against Ohio State all time, so they can suck on that. But obviously, they have the better program, but we'll always hold that 2-0 record until we meet again. But no, this has been great chopping it up with you, Trevor.
Yeah.
Before we get you out of here, Thomas hates doing game predictions, but what's your prediction for Saturday, Bama, South Carolina?
I'm really interested to see what happens here. I think that a lot of the factors heading into this game tell you that Alabama's going to have a letdown week. You've played 4 consecutive top 15 games. You're going on the road to an incredibly tough environment, probably the most underrated environment in all of college football.
Clip that one, Ross.
I mean, hey, I promise you, I was very happy when this game was a 2:30 kick and not a night kick.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. That stadium, I was there in 2010 when Garcia and Alshon Jeffrey just beat us. I think that the biggest factor is up front. If Alabama can keep Lenore Sellers in the pocket, force him to win downfield vertically, I think that the game really favors Alabama there. But there's so much off schedule that's just really you can't anticipate with a guy like Sellers. But in the end of the day, I feel like overall it's a very good matchup for Alabama. Obviously, I think that if Alabama can establish some semblance of the run game early, then it's going to be a good day for Alabama. If I go with a score prediction, I'm probably in that like 30-17, 34-20, kind of right around in there. I think that the line is pretty dialed in for this game at 12.5. But once again, this is the end of a brutal run with the bye week looking at you next week. And this is a game, for Alabama, which is it's more of a focus and mentality game. Can you get it done when you're supposed to get it done kind of situation? But yeah, I'm in that 30-17 range, Bama. I think that it's going to be close. And then, Alabama, a couple of scores late, and the game looks a little different on paper than it did in reality.
Yeah, it's interesting. The line opened at 13.5. I thought people were going to hammer Bama. I thought it would have been more around 17, but it's actually moving towards Carolina, 12.5 now. So that's interesting. You made good points. Bama's on the end of a brutal stretch, and that maybe they're getting prepped for the bye week, as opposed to, Carolina's 3-4. This is one maybe they overlook. Beamer seems to find ways to win these types of games when the fan base is down and out on him, i.e. 2022, when we have 2 back-to-back performances that were just putrid against Missouri and Florida. The whole fan base is out on the season. Then he beats Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back weeks. He seems to win these games. And then also DeBoer, he's really great when Bama's a small favorite or an underdog. But when he's a double-digit favorite at Bama, I mean, he's lost, 5 games in 2 years as a double-digit
double-digit favorite on the road has been the Achilles heel for this program, which is, like I said, it's just another factor heading into this game that does give a lot of pause. You see why the line moves towards South Carolina on that. We'll see what it does on Friday when big money starts really flying in. But I feel like that line is pretty on, in my opinion.
I'm as optimistic as Carolina fans come, but I think that even for this game to be competitive, we're going to need to be +2 or +3 in the turnover margin. We're going to have to score a defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown, which we're actually pretty good at doing. I think we're first in the country.
Best in the country, baby.
We're first in the country in non-offensive touchdowns, but we're going to need one of those, and then we're going to need y'all to just play sloppy. Y'all are going to have to. We're going to need y'all to extend some of our drives with careless defensive penalties. We're going to need, y'all to get behind the chains with a false start or a hold or a block in the back. And that is just, like I said, for us to keep it competitive. I have been waiting every single week this year for it to click on offense, and I have come to terms with the fact that we are what we are. I would love to be wrong, but we need some help from the football gods to get this upset.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Trevor, really appreciate your time, man. This was fun, chopping
Absolutely.
it up with
Thank
you. Great to have a Bama perspective, and honestly, Thomas and I were like, there's not really much to preview in this game. We might get our ass kicked, but it was good to talk to you, and really appreciate your time. And maybe we'll chat more down the road. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Trevor. That was great. Really, we kind of touched on what we expect from the game, Thomas, with Trevor. That was fun interviewing him, getting a Bama perspective.
He
talking
kept
a
it
little
pretty
bit about
modest.
him.
He could have been a lot.
He could have been a lot meaner, bro.
Yeah, he could have been a lot cockier than he was. He kept it very political.
Yeah, that was good. But yeah, I think again, Gamecock fans, it's like this is what we do. We're so down and out on Sunday. Monday rolls around, Tuesday. It's Thursday now. We're starting to get the hope back. I mean, are we going to win this game? Lines moving in our favor.
Just when I
do we pull the upset?
They pull me.
I mean, it's crazy, but I'll be in the stadium on Saturday, and I'm expecting and hoping for good things. We'll see what happens on Saturday, but let's get to the DB Blitz. Let's get some picks here, Thomas. The DB Blitz is sponsored by Hewett Insurance. So Austin and Greer Hughley are two brothers from Greenville, South Carolina. They're running an insurance group handling all of your home and auto needs in the state of South Carolina. I use these guys. They're great to work with, great people, Gamecock alum as well. So always remember Hughley Insurance. If you can't cover the spread, they will. DB Blitz, sponsored by Hughley Insurance. All right, let's get to the picks. I'm going first still because I'm still the low man. Ross said we're not there's no overlap this week, so a big 5-0 week for me and a 0-5 week for you could flip the script. So let's jump into it. SMU -3. They're playing Wake Forest. Robbie Ashford, he's a transfer from the Gamecocks. He's actually had a decent year, but I just think SMU. This is a good team. I mean, they just put a whooping on Clemson. They have talent on offense. Their quarterback, Jennings, is legit. And even though this is on the road, I don't see Wake as much of a home field advantage. And I like SMU to win this game. Utah, -13.5. I bet against Utah last week in the Holy War. That ended up being a winner. BYU pulled it out. That's a tough game, but this team has gotten better. I bet on them earlier in the year, and they had a putrid performance. That's the second time I've used putrid on this podcast. But Utah against Colorado, Dion is – these teams at Colorado with Dion, they typically get outmatched and out-physicaled. They have a tough time dealing with physical teams. Utah plays a physical brand of ball. They tough defense under Kyle Whittingham. And I think they'll be able to make the plays and get this cover, even though it's 2 touchdowns. Missouri money line. College game day is going to be there. All the hype around Vanderbilt, Pavia, all this shit. I like Missouri in this game. This is plus money on the money line. Missouri's the underdog. I thought about just taking it at 2.5, but I think they are going to win this game outright. I mean, this is a pretty even matchup when it comes to statistically, and Vanderbilt's doing great things, and obviously Pavia is a difference maker, but I like the edges for Missouri. Wilson, the transfer from Georgia, and Zion Young, they're both studs. Hopefully they can affect Pavia. And Ahmad Hardy, again, hasn't been that productive the last couple weeks, and he still leads the SEC in rushing by 200 yards. He's a stud. I think they lean on him. They can get enough from Pabrula, however you say his name, in the passing game. And this will be a tight game. Don't get me wrong. Just a lot of hype around Vanderbilt. I think they're going to be playing with a lot of pressure. Vanderbilt's the team that's under pressure. Missouri can kind of play free. They got, house money essentially with all the hype surrounding Vanderbilt. So I think they sneak out of Nashville with a win. Tennessee -9. This is a fade Kentucky pick. Kentucky absolutely blows. I can't believe Texas didn't cover last week. I mean, Texas sucks. Texas sucks. The fact that Arch, I was watching that game. Arch just missing wide open dudes. Kentucky can't really move the ball. Tennessee's offense under Heupel, much more explosive and effective than what Texas is putting on the field. I expect Tennessee to score, and Kentucky just, again, their freshman quarterback just isn't good. They're not a good team. They're ready to run Stoops out. I might be fading Kentucky every week for the rest of the season potentially. So Tennessee -9. And then lastly, Houston +7.5. This is a big game in the Big 12. Houston go into Arizona State. Arizona State just had the big win, rushed the field. They got momentum. Sam Leavitt, their quarterback's back. But Houston's quietly 6-1. This is a good football team, and maybe expect Arizona State to have a little bit of a hangover from their big win last week. And again, Houston's getting 7.5 in this game, so I like this to be a close game. And if Houston can't win outright, hopefully we get the cover with the 7.5 in our pocket. So that's my rundown. Hopefully this is a 5-0 week for your boy to get above 500 and potentially go from second to first in the standings. You're
not catching me this week, brother.
What you got?
All right. First, I'm on Ole Miss +5. They're playing at Oklahoma. We weren't able to take advantage of it, but I still don't think that Mateer is 100%. He put a lot of balls in jeopardy against us. I thought that Kilgore was going to get that one in the second half. But if Ole Miss can't win this game outright, I think that they do cover the 5. Arkansas money line, they're playing Auburn. I feel like two teams that are in different places from a energy perspective in the locker room. Auburn wants to run Hugh Freeze out of town. They can't score 20. They haven't scored 20 points in conference play yet, whereas Arkansas put up 42 on Texas A&M last week. They allowed 45. So I just think that Arkansas is going to be able to outscore Auburn despite having a bad defense because Auburn's offense has been so bad all year. And Arkansas's offense is actually very, very elite. A&M -3 at LSU, same kind of situation. A&M, they still have everything ahead of them. Right now, they're in the SEC championship. Right now, they're in the very thick of the playoff discussion. LSU just lost to Vanderbilt. They want to run Brian Kelly out of town. They still can't run the ball. I just think that A&M's a better team, and the only reason that the line is even this close is because it's in Death Valley. Oregon -33.5. This is a fade Wisconsin play. Faded them last week with Ohio State, and Ohio State shut them out. They covered the 26. Wisconsin was averaging, less than a touchdown in Big Ten play prior to last week, so now it's even lower coming out of the shutout. I see this game going very similar to how the Ohio State game went, where Wisconsin scores 10 or less points and Oregon has 30 or 40. And that's a big number, but I think they cover it. Then I have Virginia -10.5. This is a fade North Carolina play. Cal could not get the cover done last week, but I do believe that Virginia gets me there. They're just a better team, and I don't think North Carolina can keep up with them. So that's my picks. Still on top. Still above 500. Practice responsible units.
Yeah, as always, practice responsible units. Send us in some questions via Twitter or Instagram DM, YouTube comment section. We'd love to field questions from the audience. Talk about what y'all are thinking about. Give our opinions on what y'all are thinking about. Like and subscribe on your platform of your choosing, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Throw us a sub, throw us a like, and we appreciate everyone who listens and continues to listen. We'll keep talking ball. We'll keep talking Gamecocks, no matter what the results are. We'll be here talking about it. So appreciate everyone tuning in. And this is a wrap on this episode. Thank you, Trevor Hewett, for coming on and doing the interview / just conversation around Bama, South Carolina. Thanks, everyone. As always, go Cox.
Go Cox.